Can we just acknowledge who told you guys first that this was going to happen? RBN did. I did. I worked on the Bernie campaign. You guys know how many friends I lost? Because I'm like, I am not going to go along with this blatant sellout, this blatant grift, one of the biggest sellouts I've ever seen. The AOC left, and Bernie right now is operating one of the biggest political con jobs and grifts I have ever seen. You have Joe Biden that is expanding Title 42, expanding Trump's asylum policy, funding DHS to record levels. This is the policy that made Trump uniquely racist, but now Bernie Sanders is endorsing Biden, who's continuing all of Trump's policy, the one that made him uniquely dangerous. And this is on top of supporting all of Biden's and Democrats' wars. This is despite the fact that he manufactured consent for Democrats breaking the rail strike as well. But despite Bernie Sanders openly betraying us in a way that I find unbelievable, to this day, I find it unbelievable. Despite that, people were still on board. People will still get upset when I criticize Bernie Sanders. Despite the open, aggressive betrayal of his movement. Despite the fact that he voted to arm Nazis in Ukraine, that he manufactured consent for the trash Build Back Better program. It has said nothing about the Willow Project. A giant sellout. But you want to know what made Bernie Sanders people turn on him finally? After everything we covered, after everything we showed you about Bernie Sanders, you want to know what made them cancel Bernie? Because electoral politics. Because Bernie Sanders did not anoint their favorite girl boss as the next leader of the movement. That is what caused them to do it. So I'm going to show you guys how Bernie Sanders was finally canceled. But first, I'm going to show you guys this interview that he was on Chris Hayes yesterday. And the corporate media and liberals in general are still kind of behind on the Bernie sellout. So when Bernie endorsed Joe Biden, there were a lot of liberals like, oh my God, what? What? And then a lot of them were perplexed, like, oh my God. The same with AOC, where you had the Washington Post and many other corporate news outlets like, man, the squad kind of toned it down now, didn't they? The squad are pretty moderate now, aren't they? So you had the media writing stories about, man, it's kind of crazy how the Bernie Sanders movement completely sold out. We was really scared of those people for a while, wasn't we? They was like, man, it's kind of crazy how we were scared of these people. And they sold out. So here's Bernie Sanders on Chris Hayes. So because they knew Bernie was about to endorse Biden, so they immediately invite him on primetime here. And here, Bernie Sanders explains why he sold out his movement. So let's listen to this interview. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to wait for my apologies for these people because I'm going to show you guys some examples after this of Bernie people finally canceling Bernie. But I went for apologies because when Marianne Williamson announced her campaign, we told you guys that Bernie Sanders is not going to endorse Marianne Williamson. We told you that up front. So people like the Vanguard, Bree, Crystal Ball, and others who was manufacturing consent for Marianne Williamson, they kept lying to their own viewers and saying that we're going to somehow create a new Bernie Sanders style movement. Well, RBN was saying, we need to save our labor, we need to save our money, because that is not happening. That is not happening. In order for you to have a new Bernie Sanders-like movement, you need to have the establishment progressives on your side. You need a progressive politician to at least endorse you, because Bernie Sanders had the entire progressive apparatus supporting him. Every single progressive politician, from Ro Khanna, everybody, the Justice Democrats, everyone was endorsing by Bernie Sanders. So in order for you to say we're going to do Bernie Sanders 3.0, you got to have the same you got to have the same situation, right? That is not what Marianne Williamson had, but they was lying to the supporters because it was, I don't know, hedging on the fact that Bernie might endorse her, even though it was obvious he wasn't. There was an interview he gave when he was asked about Marianne Williamson. We flat out said, that's cute. That's cute, but I'm riding with Biden. People still in denial. People still in it now. So Bernie endorses Marianne Williamson. Now people had enough. So let's watch this segment. It's a short one. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. We're just gonna watch the Bernie endorsing Joe Biden part. So let's continue.
Campaign cycle, Senator Bernie Sanders is not running for president. He was, of course, chief rival to Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primary in 2016, also the strongest competitor against Joe Biden in the 2020 primary. In both races, Senator Sanders had a large and enthusiastic following and received millions of votes. He is not running this time. Instead, on the very same day that President Biden officially announced his re-election campaign, Bernie Sanders told the Associated Press that he's not running and endorsed Biden instead.
See, that's why they really mad. That's why the Marianne Williamson people were really heartbroken. They are heartbroken because they realized how right we was. Look, I showed you guys before. I posted a meme that went viral on Twitter where I showed the gif of Bernie Sanders running, and I said, "This is a live footage of Bernie Sanders rushing to endorse Joe Biden." And if you look at that tweet, there's a few Bernie people like, "Oh my God, Bernie would never do that." There's people like, "Oh my God, Nick, why are you so mean to Bernie?" And then Bernie literally proves my meme true because the day that Joe Biden announced he's going to run, that's when Bernie endorsed him. So you can tell Bernie was just waiting. He saw Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson and her supporters was saying that Marianne Williamson is the next Bernie Sanders. Everyone was saying Marianne Williamson is the next Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders was like, I kind of take offense to that. Just like the Michael Jordan interview. You had Bernie people, Marianne Williamson people, I should say. They were saying that Marianne Williamson is the next Bernie Sanders, and Bernie said, I took that personally. I took that personally. So you know that Bernie Sanders, he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait to kill Marianne Williamson's campaign. Couldn't fucking wait to show her what's real. That's what he did here. So let's continue the video. And Chris A is going to ask him why he did it. And when you hear Bernie Sanders' excuse on why he did it, you will realize that he's gone full sellout. It's not like a difference in ideology. He's out here in front of millions of people saying stuff that he knows makes no fucking sense. Like every politician does when they just blatantly sells out. So let's continue this.
Instead. And Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, chairman of the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, joins me now. Senator, it's good to have you. It seems like it was a fairly straightforward and easy decision for you to endorse the president for re-election. Why?
I don't think one has many alternatives here. What's at stake is the future of American democracy. What's at stake is whether we have some right-wing demagogue running this country, or a pathological liar, or somebody who's trying to divide us up, or whether we re-elect somebody who is a very decent human being who's trying to do the opposite, trying to bring the American people together.
Now, that's just bullshit, okay? That is just bullshit. When you hear Bernie say this, that is him just straight up coming out as an unapologetic Democratic Party PR agent, okay? Exactly what I said Bernie Sanders was. Exactly what I said. And now, Bernie Sanders is debunking the ideology of old Bernie Sanders. You guys realize this? Because Bernie Sanders was asked directly, why did you endorse Joe Biden? And he said, well, we are inflicted by right-wing demagogues. So what Bernie used to say is, the best way to engage a right-wing tyrant, demagogue like Donald Trump, is to have more democracy, for us to select someone who is progressive, someone who actually cares and actually good on the issues. The best way to fight Donald Trump, the best way to fight the far right, to elect someone who's progressive, elect someone who actually have the best interests of the workers in mind, to actually nominate someone who's a populist, who actually agrees and going to implement the policies that the majority of Americans will support. Bernie will used to tell you that. Bernie will used to tell you that the best way to beat the right wing is to have a progressive. Now, Bernie Sanders' new messages in 2023 that people will have me believe that he changed his mind at the tender age of 81. At 80 years old, Bernie Sanders changed his mind. And now he says the best way to be a right-wing demagogue is to cancel democracy. If we have less democracy, and if we anoint a leader within the Democratic Party, that is how we beat Trump. That is the exact opposite of what this guy was saying just 3 years ago. And is there any questions that this is a sellout? I feel the same way I do about Barack Obama that I do about Bernie Sanders. Can't believe I fell for this shit. Can't believe it. Because this is as egregious, AOC the same, as egregious as you get as a politician. You took worker class money. You used working class labor just to turn to a PR agent of Jim Crow Joe, who, by the way, is doing the same shit Trump was doing. The same exact immigration policy. In fact, Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump. He waged more war than Donald Trump. He funded police more than Donald Trump. So this is a person that put Donald Trump to fucking shame when it comes to implementing right-wing politics. But Bernie Sanders said, I'm all on board. Unbelievable. I'll play that part again because I want to rant. Look at this unapologetic sellout by Bernie Sanders again.
A liar, somebody who's trying to divide us up. Whether we realize somebody who is a very decent logical liar. What's at stake is whether we have some right-wing demagogue running this country, or a pathological liar, or somebody who's trying to divide us up. Or whether we re-elect somebody who is a very decent human being who's trying to do the opposite, trying to bring the American people together. Look, Chris, I think it is a surprise to nobody when I say that I disagree with Biden on many issues. But on the other hand, I think he deserves credit for what he has accomplished.
He deserves credit. He deserves credit. Bernie Sanders said, yeah, I know it's well known that I disagree with Biden on a lot of issues, but he deserves credit. What are the disagreements, Bernie? Biden literally approving the Willow Project, doing record amount of public drilling. You're supposed to be the climate guy. How are these small disagreements? Bernie Sanders and LC has turned into the biggest incrementalists in Washington. Now all of a sudden, doing a little public drilling is okay. Now apparently doing a little migrant detention, having a little bit of migrants in detention centers, that's okay. Biden expanded on all of Trump's worst policies. You guys know every single one of them. Biden took COVID relief money and sent it to the police. It's countless in only 3 years. It's insane what the Biden administration has done. But Bernie is trying to paint this unhinged, insane Biden administration that leading us down to World War III, that expanded the DHS, expanded the police, expanded oil and fracking gas. Then he say, just small disagreements. Fuck you. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what he's trying to do right now.
But on the other hand, I think he deserves credit for what he has accomplished. And our job now as a progressive movement is to rally the people of this country to make sure that the next 4 years complete some of the efforts that have begun in the first administration. And that means we have to keep our...
Bernie Sanders, and this is the role of the Bernie Sanders left. He just fucking admitted it. He just admitted it. Bernie just said the job of the progressive movement is to be good little Democrats and to allow and help Democrats to win so Biden can continue doing what he's doing. This is directly what Bernie Sanders is saying here. We got to help Biden win so Biden can continue doing what he's doing. He didn't say we need Biden to win so Biden will give us progressive policy so we can get some compromise from Biden. No, he said, no, we need to elect Biden so we can let him do what he keeps doing. So we, as a left, as a working class movement, are supposed to help help Biden win so he can continue his war against Ukraine. So he can continue to fund DHS more. So he can continue to fund the police more. So he can continue the Willow Project and public drilling. That is what Bernie Sanders is saying. Hey, progressive left, shut the fuck up and stop being a thorn on the side of the Democratic Party. That is what he's saying here. Allow it to continue because we're only going to cover the Biden part because they get into some red blue nonsense soon. I can't believe I fell for this guy, man. Like, this dude is a charlatan. I can't believe it's unbelievable. Unbelievable what he's doing here.
Begun in the first administration. And that means we have to keep our eyes on the prize and understand.
We got to keep our eyes on the prize, man. We got to keep funding Nazis in Ukraine. We got to send more weapons to Taiwan. We got to go to war with China. We got to keep our eyes on the prize. Biden released a ridiculous announcement video where he said we got to finish the job. No one knows what finish the job means. I do. When Joe Biden said he want to finish the job, that means that motherfucker want to promote more war. He wants to promote more war. Let's go to war with China. Let's continue to prop up the weapon defense contractors. Let's continue to prop up the border industrial complex. All right, I'll let him finish his thought.
The efforts that have begun in the first administration. And that means we have to keep our eyes on the prize and understand that today, tens and tens of millions of working people are struggling and are in pain in the richest country in the history of the world. So while on one hand, the fight has got to be to protect women's.
So all these American working class people are struggling, but if they decide to go on strike, we're going to break it. Biden's going to break the strike, and I'm going to help manufacturers consider him breaking strikes. I know the American people are struggling because they don't have health care. I know Biden's privatizing Medicaid, cutting Medicaid disabilities for people. It's all right. You got to live with it. You got to continue this fight.
It's right to control their own bodies. And we just heard a moment ago some of the implications of what right-wing policy has done to women. We've got to fight to protect democracy. On the other hand,
and for one, Democrats did not protect abortion rights. They clearly did not do that. And also, this is about you endorsing Joe Biden. Every single Democrat will, quote unquote, protect abortion rights. You guys all agree on this. So why is that your reason for endorsing Joe Biden? How is that part of your answer? I am supporting this neoliberal scumbag war criminal because of abortion? That doesn't fucking make sense. You can support a progressive primary challenger. You can support a third party and still be in support of abortion. He is bullshitting you because Bernie Sanders think you're an idiot. That's the only thing that makes sense here.
We cannot lose track of the fact that over 60% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. Over 500,000 people are homeless. People can't afford health care, can't afford prescription drugs, can't afford to go to college, in many cases working for starvation wages. So we need.
So all this stuff is happening after Joe Biden has been in power for decades. Joe Biden has been in power for decades, but people are struggling. Joe Biden's been president for 3 years, having done nothing to alleviate workers' pain. But I'm going to endorse him anyway. So he's giving his stunt speech, going right to the stunt speech. I see you. He said, Jesus, Bernie, the same speech again. That's exactly the point I'm about to get into. He got to get into the same gaslighting bullshit speech. We're going to stand for working class people. That's why you should support the Democrats who betray working class people. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit this guy is.
An agenda that speaks to working people, that brings them together to say, hey, what about a government that works for us and not just the billionaires?
The House, of course, just passed yesterday a debt.
I think that's the segment I wanted to cover. You see, Bernie completely decided to be a PR agent of the Democratic Party. He has done so quite some time. And this is the question I keep proposing to you people. We all know that Joe Manchin is bad, but Joe Manchin takes corporate money. Joe Manchin is out in the open telling you that I don't represent you. I represent corporations. That's why I don't support any of the progressive policies. And that's bad. We all acknowledge that it's bad. But how is what Bernie and the progressives doing not worse than that? Because at least Joe Manchin take corporate money, openly representing corporations. And if you support Joe Manchin after that, that's your fault. Joe Manchin, like, that's your fault if you support me. Because I'm very obviously against you and your interests. But Bernie Sanders and the progressive politicians, they take money from working class people. You guys understand? They make promises to working class, struggling people, and then they betray them like this. Bernie Sanders collected $400 million from the working class between his 2 presidential runs. Could you imagine what we could have done with that money as a working class movement? Only thing we did was pay people like David Sirota, Bernie Sanders and entire staff. We paid Chuck Rocha. We paid Nina Turner. We paid all of the Bernie industrial complex. We made their careers. We got nothing out of the working class movement at all because of this guy. At all. He took the revolutionary energy that we needed, that our generation was waiting for, and used it to siphon that to the Democratic Party. And I am asking you this question. I'm not saying Joe Manchin is worse than Bernie Sanders, but I'm saying, how is there not in the same league? How are there not in the same league of corruption when you see what Bernie Sanders has done? I used to tell people I believed in Bernie Sanders because I was like, man, I have some disagreements with Bernie on something, but I know he's going to fight because he's not taking corporate money. I used to say stupid shit like this. I used to say stupid shit like, Bernie's not taking corporate money, so of course he's not going to betray us. He's getting donations from ordinary people, so of course he's not going to betray us. Nope, I was wrong. They did what I was considered completely out of cup, completely out of line. You took working class people money and then betrayed us. That's why it's extremely weird to me that there's not been more anger among the people to our right against Bernie Sanders, because we advocate leaving the Democratic Party overall, but there's be more anger over Bernie because he's killed the momentum of the movement that you guys are invested in. You guys are invested over taking over the Democratic Party, and Bernie killed that movement. Bernie killed any movement towards Medicare for all. Any movement toward progressive politics is dead. And that is a decision that Bernie Sanders made. You guys understand?